Hey guys, tonight we're going somewhere quiet back to a city that never really slept. It somehow still managed to dream. Tonight, you're walking through the dim alleys of Ottoman Istanbul, long before sunrise when the air still carries the soft taste of salt from the Bosporus. You probably won't survive this one, at least not without craving bread. You can never actually taste that, so. Before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment with your location and local time. I love seeing the night stretch across the map like this web of shared drowsiness. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft hum that sounds a little like the sea outside Galata. Let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing under a narrow wooden awning, where the rain has long stopped, but the streets still glisten, holding little puddles of stars. The baker of this street is already awake. Sleeves rolled up, arms dusted with flour so pale it looks like moonlight clinging to his skin. The fire behind him isn't roaring, it's sighing. Like an old friend who has told this story 100 times, he doesn't look at you right away. Instead, he presses his thumb into a small clay stamp, the shape of a tulip, the imperial flower. He stamps it into the round of dough and murmurs something you can't catch. A prayer or a recipe, maybe both. This is not the bread of the morning, he says softly, almost to himself. This is the night bread for those who watch, who clean, who guard, who wait. You notice that the bakery smells of ash and cardamom, not just wheat. It's a scent so thick and kind you can almost lean into it. He tells you that bakers like him once had a secret rhythm to their nights. While the empire's wealth slept behind carved shutters, the night tradespeople kept each other awake with story sailors bringing flour from Alexandria, shepherds waiting by the ferry for a glimpse of the first loaves, and bakers marking each round with a stamp that proved where and when it was made. The tulip wasn't just decoration. It was a kind of signature, a quiet promise of who had stayed awake for your hunger. There's a superstition about the heat of the ovens, he adds. The coals must be arranged in silence before the first dough touches them. To speak too soon is to make the bread restless, he says, and restless bread brings a restless morning. You imagine that loaves whispering on their way to market, carrying bits of unslept conversation. Outside, the wind tugs at the paper lanterns, and the sound of the city feels suspended like it's waiting for you to notice something small. A cat pads through the smoke trail of the oven, its fur turning gold for a heartbeat before vanishing again. You watch the baker fold dough, his hands sure but unhurried. Each loaf, he tells you, carries the whisper of the night breeze. You can't rush something that's supposed to be quiet. You nod, though you're not sure he's talking to you at all. He gestures to a small shelf where the earliest loaves are cooling. They have tiny marks, crescents, dots, flowers. Each one, he says, is for someone different. The muezzin, the man who tends the lamps along the quay. These are the people who live on the edge of dawn, who see the world in that strange silver in between. The baker chuckles when he mentions the coffeehouses. Ah, the poets, he sighs. They come here before the first call to prayer, stealing my heat, leaving me words. He gestures to a scrap of parchment near the hearth on which someone has scribbled in Ottoman Turkish, "Sleep is for the day." The night belongs to thought. You laugh quietly, realizing that coffee, bread, and conversation formed a kind of secret ecosystem that kept the city alive while the rest of the empire dreamed. The baker shrugs, handing you a warm roll that feels like it's breathing in your palm. Eat, he says, before the call wakes the pigeons. You tear off a piece. It's softer than you expect, flavored faintly with sesame and something almost floral. The taste feels patient, like it waited for you. Outside, the sky begins to lighten, and the baker pauses, listening. From somewhere, across the water comes the faint echo of a drum, the night guard's rhythm, signaling the last hour before dawn. The baker nods to himself, wipes his hands, and tucks the tulip-stamped loaf into a basket. That one for the coffeehouse. He says, almost fondly, they'll be arguing about beans again? Always the beans. He winks, as if you're in on the joke, and you follow the basket's path as an apprentice carries it into the mist. The scent lingers, the cardamom, the ash, the secret patient. You stand there a moment longer, listening to the slow breath of the city. The baker hums a tune, a half song you don't recognize yet that you'll hear again. It's soft and rhythmic, something between a lullaby and a recipe. And as you turn away from the warmth, stepping into the street, you realize the tulip motif has imprinted faintly on your palm from the warm loaf you held. The mark fades as the wind cools your skin, but the shape remains simple, curved, the quiet emblem of a city half dash awake somewhere ahead. A door creaks open and laughter spills out. It smells of roasted beans and candle smoke, and you know you found your next stop. The baker's song hums on in the back of your mind. You step toward it. The dawn's still a promise, and the night not quite ready to let you go. You follow the laughter through the narrow stone lanes until it blends into the hum of low conversation and the faint pluck of a lute. The light comes not from torches, but from oil lamps, each haloing a small table like a private moon. You've found one of Istanbul's all-night Coffeehouse coffeehouses that never truly closed. Just breathed slowly between sips. Inside, the air is thick with roasted beans, smoke, and stories. The door sighs shut behind you, and for a moment, you stand there blinking, letting your eyes adjust to the amber glow. The warmth feels like stepping into a memory soft, layered, and welcoming. Someone gestures to an empty stool. You take it, noticing the painted tray on the low table beside you. It's chipped along the edges, but a familiar tulip curls across its surface, hand-painted in cobalt blue. You smile. The baker's mark has followed you here, blooming in pigment instead of flower. The proprietor, an older man with a trimmed beard and eyes that seem permanently amused, sets a small brass cup in front of you. The coffee is thick, almost molten, and smells faintly of clove and smoke. He doesn't ask how you take it. In this place, there's only one way. Strong, dark, and made to last conversations that stretch past reason. He leans in. You can tell the time by how fast your spoon stands. He whispers. You laugh softly. If it sinks too quick, the night's nearly gone. Around you, the crowd is a patchwork of the empire itself, sailors, poets, janissaries, off-duty, and a few women in veils pretending to be invisible, but who aren't fooling anyone. Someone reads a couplet from a tattered notebook. Another responds with a proverb so old the meanings become comfortable nonsense. There's a rhythm to it all sip. Speak, laugh, pause, stir. The spoons tap like crickets. Every few minutes, the brazier at the center sighs as someone stirs the coals. The air flickers gold in shadow. Like the fire's thinking about joining the conversation, a young man at the next table catches your attention. He's arguing not angrily, but with the calm conviction of someone who's said this many times before. He insists that coffee is divine, that it brings wakefulness for worship, that the prophet's horse once smelled the roasted bean before battle and refused to sleep. The others roll their eyes. Someone mutters, the only divine thing about coffee is how it argues back. Laughter follows, soft as steam. You realize you're sitting in the heart of something quietly revolutionary. In the 16th and 17th centuries, these coffeehouses were more than leisure. They were tiny republics of conversation. Here, an apprentice could debate a judge, a merchant could tease a poet, and an idea could travel faster than any courier on horseback. Of course, not everyone liked that. One man tells you, lowering his voice, that the Sultan once banned coffee altogether. They said it made men restless, he whispers. Made them question things best left unquestioned. He smirks, tapping the table, but the ban never lasted. The smell alone betrayed us. A woman at the back starts to sing a soft, untrained melody that loops gently through the smoke. Her voice trembles like a candle flame. You can't make out the words, but it feels like something old, maybe borrowed from the night guards outside. You remember the baker's hum, the tune that seemed too rhythmic to be random. Maybe it's the same song, passed between workers. Of the night like a secret handshake. You sip the coffee. It's thick enough to leave a trace on your tongue, bitter but kind. You understand why they call it black as hell, strong as death, sweet as love. But tonight it's none of those things. Tonight, It's simply comforting, like someone's voice promising that sleep can wait just a little longer. The man beside you leans closer. Do you know how we used to keep the cups warm? He asks. He points toward the brazier. Charcoal, yes, but we added a pinch of salt, just a bit, to make the fire sing lower. You listen. He's right. Between the laughter and conversation, there's a faint hiss, almost melodic, like the sound of a whisper being stirred into the coals. He explains that coffee houses had their own secret hours, their own unspoken rules. Midnight was for poetry, 2 o'clock for games, 4 for silence when the night watchers passed and everyone lowered their voices in respect. That hour was sacred, he says. The city's pulse beats slowest then, and even the wind seemed to listen. You notice a small wooden clock near the counter. Its face is painted with another tulip, and the hands move lazily, as if time here isn't entirely real. You ask the owner where it came from. He shrugs. Maybe from the baker down the street, he says. Maybe from the past itself. The lute player plucks the final note, and the room softens into murmurs. The poet beside you sketches a tulip in the margin of his notebook. Ink still glistening. When you stand to leave, the proprietor gives you a half smile. Take the street by the lamps, he says. Follow the quiet ones. They keep the hours. Safe? You step back into the night. The air is cooler now, heavy with the scent of rain and roasted beans that clings to your sleeves. The street stretches uphill toward the Tower District, where tiny lights sway in the mist. Somewhere above, a lamplighter hums the same melody you heard in the coffee house, the same rhythm from the baker's oven. You follow it, boots echoing softly against stone. The city's night still lives, stitched together by bread, coffee, and quiet voices keeping time. As you turn the corner, a lantern flares briefly, catching the tulip mark on the tray in your memory. Blue, delicate, constant. It feels like it's guiding you toward the next story waiting in the mist. You climb the slope toward Galata, the stones damp beneath your feet, glinting like pieces of a mirror broken by rain. The music of the coffee house fades behind you, replaced by a quieter rhythm, the muffled footsteps of men who move without urgency, carrying small poles tipped with flame. You've found the lamplighters. They move in pairs, murmuring as they work, their lanterns swaying like tiny moons over the cobbled street. The air smells faintly of whale oil and sea salt, of wet wood and the faint sweetness of sleep drifting down from shuttered windows. You've fallen to step beside one. He's humming something familiar, a lullaby or a working song. It's the same tune you heard at the bakery, the same one the singer in the coffee house reshaped into something sad. He glances at you, nods once, and says, "You're up late. Or early. Depends which world you belong to." You shrug. "Maybe both." He grins. "That's what the night's for, belonging nowhere in particular." He raises the flame to a lamp and breathes as the glass fogs over, catching a glint of brass. The street blooms with light, one pool at a time, like cautious thoughts emerging in the dark. The lamplighter tells you he's been doing this for 20 years. Once the work was dangerous, lamps exploded, thieves lurked, rain ruined the wicks, but it was necessary. Without light, he says, the night forgets itself. You ask if the city pays him well. He laughs softly. Enough to eat, not enough to dream. Then, almost as an afterthought, but we're paid in quiet. That's worth something. As you walk together, the city hums faintly around you. A cat leaps from a balcony. Far off, the Bosporus murmurs, carrying voices from ferrymen who never quite stopped moving. The lamplighter gestures toward the Tower Galata. Tower, rising like a dark candle above the fog. That's where we start, he says. That's where we end. He stops by a doorway where another man waits with a bucket of oil. Together they replace the lamp's wick, humming that same circular melody. The lamplighter explains that each district's watchman once sang in different keys. So, from afar, a listener could tell which part of the city was awake. Our music was the city's clock, he says, almost proudly. You ask if people ever complained about the noise. Some did, he admits, but most said they slept better knowing someone was awake. He leans on his pole and looks up at the faint line of dawn still trapped beneath the clouds. Funny thing, he muses. The night used to be dangerous, full of thieves and stories. Now it's just lonely. People sleep behind walls. No one listens to us anymore. You want to tell him that someone centuries later still hears this tune, still imagines his light cutting the dark, but you just smile instead. He nods as if he's heard it anyway. A watchman rounds the corner, his staff tapping the rhythm of his patrol. He carries a small drum at his hip, striking it every few paces, a heartbeat in the fog. The lamplighter joins him for a few steps, their sounds overlapping, the tap of the drum and the hiss of the flame. They greet each other like brothers. The watchman explains, half joking, that his main job is to make sure the drunks don't mistake the sea for the road. Or to wake up bakers who fall asleep, he adds with a wink. You think of the baker's sleepy grin, the tulip-stamped loaf, and smile. He offers you a sip from his flask water flavored faintly with mint and something smoky. Keeps the cold out, he says. You realize it's probably the same mint that grows outside the city walls. In those secret gardens you'll hear about soon as they work. You notice a small charm tied to the lamplighter's wrist, a bit of cloth printed with a tulip. It's stained and worn, but the symbol is clear. For luck, he explains, from a baker's wife long ago. She said it keeps the flame steady. Historians still debate whether such charms were superstition or solidarity. Maybe they were both. Maybe the tulip traveled quietly between the city's night workers, bakers, lamplighters, watchmen, as a sign that someone else was still awake. The lamplighter stops before another coast, lifts his pole, and sets the flame inside. The lamp flares once, illuminating the narrow street. For a moment, you see the fog swirl like smoke over the cobblestones, the oily shimmer of rain, and beyond it, the tower's great shadow pointing toward the sea. Do you hear that? Yes, suddenly. You listen. Somewhere far off, the muezzins. Call begins, soft, trembling, not yet dawn, but something near it. The watchman taps his drum in reply, slower now, respectful. The lamplighter lowers his pole and sighs. That's my cue. The light belongs to someone else now. You walk with him a little longer, until he stops before a wooden door. My wife's inside, he says. She keeps herbs by the window. The mint's best after the rain. He smiles, the glow of the last lamp flickering in his eyes. If you're still wandering when the stars fade, follow the smell. She might. Give you a story for the road? He pushes the door open, the scent of earth and sesame greeting you like an invitation. Before you can thank him, he's gone, leaving only the sound of the sea and that lingering melody humming through the alleys. You glance back once. The lamps stretch behind you like a constellation made of memory, each flame small but certain. Ahead, the scent of mint draws you forward into the gardens beyond the walls. The tulip, the hum, the warmth, they're all traveling with you now, carrying the city's quiet pulse into whatever waits next. The cobblestones soften into dirt as you follow the scent of mint through the city's crumbling gate. Beyond the walls, the world feels wider, calmer. The sky stretches out like a great silvery quilt, stitched with cloud. The city's noise fades until it's nothing more than a faint pulse, like someone sleeping. Just out of reach, you're standing on the edge of the market gardens of old Istanbul. They stretch down toward the sea in uneven terraces, patched with herbs, greens, and little plots of sesame. By day they fed thousands. By night they belong to ghosts and gardeners. A lantern glows near a fig tree. You follow it to a small figure kneeling by the soil. She's elderly, her back curved like the bow of a small boat, her hands steady in the dark. She's pruning mint with a pair of scissors so old the handles shine where the paint has worn. Away, she looks up when you approach, her expression neither surprised nor afraid. You smell like bread, she says softly, her Turkish tinted with the Aegean Islands. And smoke. You've come from the ovens. You nod, she gestures to a stool by the path. Sit. The mint grows better when it's listened to. You lower yourself onto the wooden stool. The air here feels thick with scent mint, sesame oil, damp earth, and a hint of salt. The moonlight catches the dew clinging to the leaves, each one glittering like a secret. The woman sets her scissors down and wipes her hands. My husband was a baker once, she says. He marked his loaves with a tulip, because he said the tulip was the soul's sigh. It blooms, then it's gone. You smile at that. I've seen his mark, you say. She laughs quietly. Then, he's still awake somewhere. She opens a wicker basket beside her. Inside are small bundles of herbs wrapped in parchment. Some are labeled with crooked writing. Nain for mint, susam for sesame, rosine for fennel. She takes one out and presses it into your hand. He used to bake with these, she explains. A pinch in the dough before the last knead. It makes the bread sing when it cools. You raise the packet to your face. The scent is cool and green, like the first breath after rain. She watches you with a kind of knowing amusement. Most people forget, she says, that bread has its own garden. Somewhere nearby, a nightingale sings. It sounds as if it's testing its voice, not performing. The rhythm matches the tune you've been hearing all night. The hum of the baker, the song of the coffeehouse, the melody of the lamplighter. It's here too, woven into the air, slow and familiar. The woman hums along under her breath. We used to sing that when we baked the night loaves, she murmurs, to keep the dough calm. The city sleeps better when its bread is quiet. You ask about the herbs she grows. She smiles and starts naming them like old friends. Mint, for clarity. Thyme for courage. Anise for dreams. Sesame for patience. She pauses. And basil, because even the weary deserve something sweet. She tells you that once, during a famine, bakers came to her gardens under moonlight, carrying baskets instead of coin. They filled them with herbs and gratitude, then slipped back inside the walls before dawn. We all worked for each other. She says, the bread for the watchmen, the lamps for the streets, the herbs for the loaves. The empire ran on quiet kindness. She doesn't say it proudly, just as if it's a fact the world once knew. You glance down and notice something. At her feet, a round loaf resting on a cloth, still warm. It bears the tulip stamp you've come to recognize. One of his last, she says softly. The apprentice brought it back after the ovens cooled. You trace the mark with your thumb. The loaf feels alive, soft and steady, the scent rising, faintly between mint and wheat. I keep it here, she explains, to remind the soil what love smells like. Historians might call this superstition, but in this moment, it feels like truth. The bread feeding the earth flavoring the bread, the circle closing so quietly it doesn't need applause. The woman rises, joints creaking, and gathers. Her shawl. The call will come soon, she says. You should be back inside the walls before the gulls wake. You hesitate. And you? I stay, she says, smiling. Someone must listen for the dew. You thank her. She waves a hand dismissively. Just take a bit of mint with you. Keep it in your pocket. The city will know you're a friend. You. Do. The leaves are cool and slightly damp against your skin. As you turn to leave, the night air thickens with mist from the sea. The path back winds between rows of herbs, their scents mingling sharp, sweet, alive. You realize you can't smell where one ends and the next begins. It's all one fragrance now, the scent of waking things. When you reach the gate, you look. Back, the woman's lantern still glows faintly among the mint. Beside it, the tulip-stamped loaf rests in the herb basket. Catching the moonlight like a soft, golden star, you tuck your hands into your pockets. The mint leaf crinkles softly as you walk, the melody of the lamplighters hum threading through your steps. The city awaits, drowsy and luminous, holding its breath for the moment before the dawn. The road back into Istanbul feels lighter now, like the air itself has exhaled. The sea is only a few paces away, whispering against the old stones. Above you, the sky is turning from slate to pearl, the fragile color of first light. You pull your shawl, or maybe just your thoughts, closer, and step once more into the city that always lives between waking and sleep. The gates creak open. Inside, the alleys have changed. The lamps the watchmen lit hours ago still burn faintly, their flames trembling in the soft breeze. Smoke rises in thin threads from the bakery chimneys. You follow it instinctively. past shuttered stalls, and quiet fountains until the scent of baked wheat finds you again. The baker's doors open. You see him inside, sleeves rolled up, face flushed with the work of dawn. The ovens breathe steam like gentle giants, and rows of loaves line the table, each bearing the familiar tulip stamp. He looks up as you enter, a knowing grin creasing his flour-dusted face. "Ah," he says, "you've been out with the night people." You nod. The mint still lingers on your fingers. He gestures toward the ovens. "Then you've earned breakfast." He places a small round loaf into your hands. It's warm, soft, and still sighing with life. "The last of the night bread," he says. "It's meant to be eaten before the call to prayer. After that, it belongs to the day." You sit by the window as he works. The light outside is hesitant, like the city itself doesn't want to wake too quickly. Across the street, a lamplighter leans his pole against a wall, rubbing his hands for warmth. You recognize him immediately. He spots you too, grinning, then nods toward the sky where the first gulls have started to stir, their cries mixed with something older, the faint, trembling call of the azan, spreading across domes and rooftops. The baker pauses, wiping his brow, and closes his eyes for a heartbeat. The sound rolls through the air like silk being unspooled, slow and solemn. For a moment, everything stops. The watchmen lean on their staves, cats freeze mid-step. Even the smoke rising from the ovens seems to listen. The baker whispers, "That's the quiet hour." The world holds its breath between night and day. You listen to? The sound feels vast yet gentle, like the city is praying to its own heartbeat. The light softens further, gold pooling along the street dot then. With a kind of reverence, life returns. The muezzin's voice fades. Doors open. The sound of brooms, the chatter of merchants, the faint laughter of children. Each note stitched into the tapestry of waking dot. The baker breaks a loaf in half and offers you a piece. "Taste," he says. "Tell me what you hear." You bite. Into it. It's simple flour, salt, sesame, but something else lingers underneath. Mint. A faint, whispering sweetness, like the garden itself breathed into the dough. You smile. "I hear the sea," you say, "and maybe a song." He chuckles. "Ah, the night got into you." He opens a basket and takes out another loaf, this one darker, its crust kissed with ash. "This one's going to the coffeehouse." He says they'll argue about it for hours. Whether it's too soft, too old, too perfect. That's how you know they love it. You watch as he wraps it carefully in cloth. The tulip stamp presses faintly against the fabric, like a seal of continuity, proof that the night's labor still matters when the sun returns. He glances at the mark on your hand, where the warmth of the loaf once left a faint pattern. "You've been touched by the tulip," he says playfully. "That means you'll dream of ovens for a week." You laugh. "There are worse things." The street outside glows now, lanterns dimming as the sky turns gold. The lamplighter walks by, humming softly. You catch a few words this time, something about the light remembering the night. He raises hand in farewell before disappearing around the corner. You finish the bread slowly, savoring the crust that crackles as it cools. The baker hums to himself, the same lullaby you've heard in every corner of the night, the melody. Of the city's heartbeat, he catches you listening and shrugs. "Old habit," he says. "My wife used to hum it when the dough rose. Said it made the yeast braver. Does it work?" You ask Dot. He smiles. You're eating the proof. Outside, the pigeons take flight in a sudden rush, a soft thunder. "Of wings?" The baker looks up, then turns back to his work, rolling dough as though it's just another day, but, better. You've seen the night's secret life, the network of hands and hearts that kept the city breathing, the lamplighter, the poet, the watchman, the gardener, all of them invisible by daylight, yet present in every sound, scent, and flavor around. Dot the baker slides a tray into the oven, his movements slow and steady. "The city wakes," he says, almost tenderly. "But it dreams through us." You stand to leave. He waves a flower-covered hand and calls out, "Keep the tulip with you. You'll find it again when you need it." As you step back into the street, the sun crests over the Bosporus, gilding the rooftops. The air is warmer now, carrying with it the mingled sense of bread, sea, and the faint, sweet trace of mint from your pocket. The last lamp flickers out. The baker's door closes behind you. The world has changed colors again. You walk toward the water, where the first ferry bell rings. The sound is soft, almost like a lullaby, one last note of the night that refuses to fade. And somewhere, in that space between breath and sound, you feel the city exhale content, complete and beautifully awake. Asterisk, asterisk. The story lingers even after the city wakes. You can still smell the bread if you try the warmth of the ovens, the mint from the gardens, the faint bitterness of coffee cooling on a forgotten table. Maybe you can even hear it too, the hum of the lamplighters song, the rhythm of quiet footsteps on cobblestone, the heartbeat of a place that once kept time through kindness. You don't need to picture it perfectly. Just breathe. Let the images blur a little, like watercolor spreading through paper. The baker's smile, the tulip mark, the hush before the dawn, they can all fade softly now, leaving behind only a feeling of calm. Imagine yourself walking. One last time through those early streets, your feet silent, their pulse steady. The air is cool against your face. The city doesn't demand anything from you here. It simply accepts you as part of its night. The sea murmurs at the edge of your hearing. The breeze carries the smell of salt and sesame. Somewhere, a watchman taps his staff one last time before going home to sleep. You take a slow breath in and a slow breath out. Maybe you've been awake too long. Or maybe, like the baker, you've learned that some parts of the night are worth keeping. The city will wait for you when you return. Always humming, always alive beneath the quiet. For now, let it go. Let your eyes grow heavy. The light is soft. The air is still. The story is complete. End of script. Sweet dreams.